Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of UnPontificated. And today we're going to look at a video. We're going to respond to a video put out by this channel called Serpenta. And this is a video entitled The Truth About White South African Refugees. And in the video, I just wanted to respond to some of the things that the commentator said. And because I think that he was a little bit misleading, a little bit disingenuous, a little bit misleading. Some of the things he said, most of the things he said were facts, but slightly misleading, as you'll see as I comment on the video. So we will get it started. And by the way, if you like the content, please like, please subscribe. That'll really help me on the channel, help grow the channel. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So as you guys all know, Donald Trump has commented on the goings on in South Africa. He has accused the South African government of confiscating land from white farmers, which is patently and demonstrably false. I did a program on this, an episode on this fact that it is demonstrably false that the South African government has confiscated any land. And when we say confiscated, it means taken land without permission, taken land without compensation from any white farmer. It just has not happened in the 30, almost going to be 31 years of independence, of civil rights, of end of apartheid, whatever you want to call it. It hasn't happened. So this fellow, I forget his name, I'll mention his name, but the channel's name is Serpenta, and has made a comment on this because Donald Trump has said that he will accept any asylum seekers, white South African asylum seekers who wanted to immigrate, wanted to go to seek asylum in America. He will accept them. And of course, you'll see many videos of boers, white South Africans saying, no, we're not coming. And of course, they're not coming because they have it good in South Africa. So South Africa is certainly not a bastion of, it's not a paradise, a bastion of no issues. It has issues. There's high crime in South Africa. And but however, a lot of the whites, the affluent people in South Africa are still the white people, still, even up to this day. So let's not, you'll see a lot of comments on this guy's channel about, this happened, this person was killed, and, this white person was killed, these are their stories they have. Black people have those stories too. Black people are getting killed. The gender violence in South Africa is rife. It's bad. So yes, there's violence in South Africa, but the government, the constitution of South Africa, there's no indication that you can just go and confiscate. These are criminals who are committing these crimes against white people, against black people, against Indian people, against all people. They are criminal elements, and they need to be brought to justice. But don't, and sorry, I shouldn't say don't. There is a racial element to some of these criminal acts, absolutely. But it's not a government mandate. Donald Trump is wrong to say that it's a government mandate that people can just go in, confiscate land, kill white people. It's not a government mandate, never has been. So it starts out with this ominous scene of, again, criminals going in.
Arm the alarm. Lock your doors. And most importantly, lock the security gate between the living room and your bedroom.
Good idea.
That's what saved the life of this couple who was about to be murdered and horribly tortured and who knows what else in their own beds. This is the reality of South Africa. It's a mess. And you know what? South Africa's in the news because it looks like people are finally taking this big problem that South Africa faces seriously. And of course, I'm talking about the problem of race-targeted violent attacks and ethnic cleansing.
If one of us will kill 5 white people, we'll kill their children, we'll kill their women, we'll kill anything.
But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor. The farmer. Kill the poor. The farmer. Brr, pa. Pa. Brr, pa. Pa.
Now this...
Okay, guys. Yeah, those clips are true. There's nothing false about those clips. That song that you saw Julius Malema, those guys in red, singing, called, Kill the Boer, Shoot the Boer, Kill the Farmer. It's a song that was, I'm going to just read here, the song originates in the struggle against apartheid when it was first sung to protest the Afrikaner-dominated apartheid government of South Africa. So it was an anti-apartheid song. Now it just continued to be sung to motivate people not to shoot the Boer or kill the Boer, but to motivate them to take action against grievances that they have. So I personally don't like the song. I don't think it's a song that should be sung at all. So let's just say that personally, I don't like it. And you won't hear that being sung by the ANC, the ruling government, the ruling party. You'll hear it being sung by the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, who's a very controversial figure. You'll hear it being sung by guys who do want the government to take action now on the land issue. And but I don't want you to but just because this Serpensa here has highlighted these songs, please don't think that this is a government approved action. It's not approved by the government of South Africa.
This is going to be an interesting video to talk about because this is such a landmine of a topic and something that's very divisive. And the best way for me to start to talk about this topic is to show you something. What you're seeing here is a flag that I took around with me when I did my first road trip through America back in 2016. The signatures of people that I met along the way, and the kind words of welcome and encouragement and love that I received from all walks of life around America. This flag is proof that America works. This flag is proof that America is filled with people of compassion and love and understanding, good people, kind people, generous people. And that's something that I will never forget because the people here is what make this country great. I can't say the same for South Africa, however. South Africa sucks. It's a shithole, and I'm being completely serious here. South Africa is a nation divided into tribes, and a nation that has been circling the toilet bowl for a very long time. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to hold back. I have every right to criticize South Africa the way I...
Sure, you do have every right to criticize South Africa the way you see fit. It's probably not the South Africa that you grew up in back in the apartheid days, right? You probably missed those days, don't you, Serpensa? Right? So South Africa's got problems, but let's any country. You look at the start of America, right? It was filled with wars. The Revolutionary War, the Civil War, Americans fighting against Americans themselves. So America didn't start out well. Okay, it's great now, sure. I like America. I'm in Canada. I like Canada. But again, Canada didn't start out well. Talk to the Acadians who were kicked out of their land in Nova Scotia and shipped off to Louisiana. So there's issues in the beginning of every country's genesis of every country, the start of every country. So you want to call South Africa a shithole? All right, good on you. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's got its problems, but really, if you think, like, South Africa has friendly people as well. South Africa has people who are very loving, who would sign your flag too. Yeah, no, guys, this is a fella who grew up in South Africa, I believe, pre-apartheid, left South Africa because because independence, and now he's got issues.
I do, because I am a white South African. I grew up in South Africa, born in Cape Town, moved to Johannesburg when I was about 10, and I moved to China when I was 25. So that's when I left South Africa at the age of 25 years old, and I will never, ever go back. But what about all this brouhaha in the news now that President Trump has signed something wanting to give refugee status to the Afrikaans ethnic minority in South Africa? Well, we're going to talk about this heavy topic.
So guys, full disclosure, I've never lived in South Africa. I am a child of refugees who left South Africa in the early 60s. I was born in England. Then I was raised in Botswana, lived in Botswana till 76. And then we moved to Kenya. And then I came to Canada when I was 18. So, so I've never lived in South Africa. So my parents have since returned to South Africa. When back in '94, they did return to South Africa and still live there today, and love it there. There's issues, but yeah, they love it. And my siblings as well have moved to South Africa, and so I am a Xhosa man. So I'm a member of the Xhosa Nation, and so that's South Africa is my motherland. That's what I say, and so never lived there. So the experiences that Serpensa has are certainly not my experiences. And even if I had lived in South Africa, his experiences would not have been my experiences. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, I'm not a fellow who has lived in South Africa, who experienced apartheid firsthand. I'm not.
Well, the Afrikaans people are basically the descendants of Dutch settlers. Think of your Oregon Trail in America. Think of your pioneers with their ox wagons. It's exactly the same thing. They also had ox wagons. They went through the African bush. They gave the middle finger to the British, just like you Americans did. And turns out they're incredibly good farmers because they had to survive and figure out the land and all that along the way. And guess what? They became incredibly good farmers. They are the Afrikaans people, specifically farmers, the Boere, as they call it. Boer just means farmer, being targeted for murder, being targeted for horrendous crimes for decades now. And by every stretch of the definition of genocide, that is what they're going through and have been going through. There are horrendous stories. I'm not going to get into it because if I even try to describe some of the absolutely disgusting things that have been done to these farmers, in front of their families and to their families and so on, this video would get removed from YouTube. I mean, being a white South African, growing up in South Africa, I myself was targeted for crime. My family was targeted for crime. We had home invasions. My mother was molested while these guys broke into, tried to kidnap her, and they put her in the trunk of a car and all this other stuff.
Now, guys, horrific. And again, not lies. That is true. They are targeted. They are white farmers who are targeted by criminal elements, right? And some of them are brought to justice. Some of them are not. It's a sad situation. But please, let's when Trump says that the South African government is doing atrocious things, it's not true. These are criminal elements. Okay, and it's brutal. It's bad. It's bad. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I think when I when I say that this Sepensa is being a little bit misleading and disingenuous, he doesn't reiterate that, or he doesn't emphasize that this is not a constitutional item. This is not the president, saying yes, go guys, go and take those farms. Yes, we're going to confiscate farms. Not. There have been no farms that have been confiscated by the government. But yes, Sepensa is correct. There have been brutal murders perpetrated on white people. Sure, yes, terrible.
I've made videos about this stuff in the past. I've been shot at. I've been attacked. I've had lots of bad things happen. My sister's been hijacked at gunpoint. Like every member of my family, every friend that I have who's white in South Africa, well, I should be fair and say black too, have experienced crime.
I appreciate him saying that. Black too. Thank you for that, Sepensa.
But there's a big difference, because although everybody in South Africa, and I mean everybody, is a target crime, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, you get something called a tsotsi, and a tsotsi is a criminal, like a disgusting, vicious criminal. They will attack anyone, regardless of their race or background. Doesn't matter what color they are, doesn't matter who they are. They will rob you, rape you, murder you, torture you, no matter. Okay, but there's one big difference. And the big difference is you do not get politicians going up on stage or in parliament calling for the slaughter of white people, the slitting of their throats, the murdering of their pets, the killing of their children. You don't get that against any other group in South Africa. There's no politician going up there and saying, shoot the Xhosas or the Zulus, or shoot the Indians, or slit the throats of Indianness, or whatever nonsense you can come up with. There is absolutely only one group who is targeted by politicians and who are discriminated against heavily in the media and by the government, and those are white people.
I will be happy to mure bure. That will be nice. An Afrikaner blood. I want the blood of an Afrikaner.
Now we want you.
Bring the blood of an Afrikaner. I want it.
We want Jackie Hayes. We must speak her.
No, it's so difficult to talk about this kind of thing because in the world we live in today, the idea that a white European is first of all a minority, and second of all, an ethnic minority that is targeted based on their race for discrimination and crime and murder and all this, it's difficult for people to swallow.
I get what Sepensa is saying, but he knows the history. One. Number two, when he says politicians in parliament or off stage, like this, this guy up here right now, are saying, kill the Boer or what, I want the Afrikaner blood. You'll hear that from the economic freedom fighters only. You won't hear that from the ANC. You certainly won't hear it from the DA, that's the Democratic Alliance. You won't hear it from COPE, Congress of the People. You won't hear it from other parties. You'll hear it from the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, led by Joseph Malema and his others. So yes, so when he says politicians, he's giving the impression that all Black politicians are speaking this way. And that's why it's disingenuous, it's misleading. He should have, like he honestly said, Black people, the Tsotsis will go after everybody. He should specify that this is not all politicians. This is a small fraction, political party, political group speaking this way. certainly not the ruling government, and you won't hear them speaking this way at all. Okay? So he should be more specific, especially at this time. At this time, we're not talking about back in the 90s or even early 2000s. Right now, in 2025, who's still saying that? What is Trump saying? Trump saying as a result of what's being said, he should speak to the truth of those matters now. And that's why I want to share this. I want people to not think that South Africa, the South African government, is out there targeting white people. It's not. And actually, let me continue. I'm going to bring up some experts. I want you to listen to this episode in Al Jazeera about this issue, so these guys can explain it better than me.
Elon Musk has been using his platform and presumably his growing proximity to Donald Trump to juice this story up. He's been spreading statements online by opposition figures like Julius Malema to make the dubious claim that South Africa is a white genocide in waiting.
Shoot to kill the mother, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer.
Some of Malema's views are indeed reprehensible, but his party is not even part of the coalition government. He is just a tool that Musk uses to drive the narrative of white victimhood. Throughout the pushing of this story, the specter of neighboring Zimbabwe has been raised, and the racially driven, sometimes violent land grabs that took place there 25 years ago.
You are not wanted to be here anymore.
That's not even close to what's happening in South Africa. Although, more than 3 decades after the end of apartheid, whites still own more than 70% of the private farmland, despite making up just 7% of the population.
If we just go back to the realities on the ground, the people in South Africa who do face the real risks and reality of being rendered homeless and landless are black people who are being evicted from farms, black people who have no place to stay in the city. But all of this is ignored and obscured when somebody with the power of Musk, with the power of Trump, all of these groups managing to dominate the headlines.
Elon Musk was brought up in apartheid South Africa as a white child in South Africa, went to a whites-only school. He would have been indoctrinated into the whole apartheid logic. The issue here, I think, is also partly the way that the media is framing this. Often it taps into that sort of xenophobic, populist discourse around a white genocide around the world.
Okay, so you see that the most people, as that lady said, most people who are more likely to be evicted, to be homeless, are black people. White people still own 70% of the farmland, of the land, even though they're 7% of the population. Right? So Serpensa needs to be a little bit more nuanced in his language. So I want us to listen to another interview done again by Al Jazeera about this issue. And this is regarding this land appropriation act that South Africa just passed. And anyway, there was a question that was asked. This is an expert on constitutional issues. Let's listen to what she has to say.
So let's get something straight, Tambia. Is South Africa confiscating land, to quote President Trump, from certain classes which are treated very badly, he said?
There are two main parts of the statement, right? Is South Africa confiscating land? Absolutely not, right?
No.
Expropriation of land is not new. Neither in South Africa nor around the world. Expropriation of land exists in America as well, and it happens very routinely. Secondly, in South Africa, under the new act, land has not been expropriated yet. And thirdly, when we read the act, which I need to stress that many people have not done in South Africa, and I would be surprised if President Donald Trump himself has actually read the act, because the act does not refer to race, right? It does not refer to specific race of landowners. It talks about the kind of property. There seems to be a sort of inference from people around the world talking about this act, people in South Africa talking about this act, that it's referring to certain kinds of landowners. It doesn't refer to race. So no, South Africa is not confiscating land. There is a procedure that needs to take place. The procedure almost has 18 sorts of steps. The court has to step in, right? The court has to measure the compensation that goes in. There are so many steps that goes in, and it has to comply with the Constitution. There is absolutely no arbitrary confiscation of land that is going on. And expropriation is very routine in every democratic state around the world. It's very normal.
Thank you, Tanvia. That was, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, right? Donald Trump is lying. Elon Musk is lying. And people are being misled around the world. It's just absolute nonsense.
The idea that a white European ethnic minority could claim refugee status is just so unpalatable for mainstream media and so unpalatable for most sensibilities around the world that they've been ignored for decades. Now, I'm not Afrikaans, so this refugee thing doesn't pertain to me. I believe that the Afrikaners deserve to be able to apply for refugee status. And I've seen some horrible people who are trying their best to prevent this because they don't see how a white person should be given the opportunity to apply for refugee status, where, and rightly so, everybody in South Africa is targeted. But what they do not mention is the fact that no other ethnic group in South Africa has people standing up on stage calling for their slaughter and their murder. This is how genocides happen. When you've got political forces and when you've got big groups of people calling for the murder of a certain group. When you've got very powerful and influential politicians making their followers believe that all the problems in the world, all of their problems are due to insert your ethnic group here. It always ends up badly. When you start blaming it, especially a small minority, when you start blaming that tiny minority in a country where the majority of people, are being riled up and told that they are the people you've got to target. You get rid of them, you get rid of your problems. You know what's going to happen.
I agree with Sapence on that. It is unconscionable. The EFF are economic freedom fighters, are a powerful political group. And the fact that they're calling for the killing of white people, or they're singing the song, kill the Boer, shoot the Boer, kill the Boer. Again, I don't agree with that they should be singing that song. It is a rallying cry, and it is anytime you make those kind of statements, there are elements who will take you seriously and take you literally and will go out and do it and will go out and kill farmers, white farmers, because they're frustrated themselves, whatever the reason is. It's a criminal act. It shouldn't be done. Not giving an excuse, please. Not giving an excuse. And like I said, Sapence is correct that certainly killing of white farmers is happening in South Africa by criminal elements. I just want to state that it's not, the Constitution, it's not the government. But political leaders with huge followings are singing that song, and it's too bad. It's not good. Oh, white people seeking refugee status. I think every country has its elements as to you apply for refugee status, and if you fulfill the elements, going back to your country is you're likely to be killed, that kind of thing. If you fulfill those, then by all means, seek asylum. and nothing wrong with that. White, black, Indian. Go ahead and do it. Make your case. Make your case. And if you make the case, the country agrees with you, you're good to go. But you have to make the case honestly. Like on Donald Trump, saying, based on lies. The South African government is doing really bad things, really bad things. So
you can look up what plaasmoord is all about, the farm murders, and you will see. You will see just how horrific it is. And of course, I've been very disappointed to see the pushback against this thing by the American government. I've seen this pushback where you've got articles that are so written in such poor taste, with such inflammatory language as to try and blame and celebrate the fact that Afrikaners are being attacked or that white South Africans are being targeted for crime. And I have my entire life noticed that there.
You won't see that on this channel, on UnPontificated. I will not celebrate the murder, the killing of anybody, certainly not based on race, and just because they're white or whatever. That is totally unacceptable, and that is in poor taste.
There's people, and it's not a small minority of people, but there are a lot of people that celebrate these vicious attacks against white South Africans because they believe that they deserve it. They believe that somehow white people in South Africa deserve to be murdered and raped and tortured and have all of their property that they've worked their entire lives for stolen and taken away simply because of some perceived thing in the past, whether it be apartheid.
Whoa. Some perceived thing in the past? Apartheid was not perceived. It happened. And it was only 30 years ago. There are plenty of people who are still alive who faced apartheid. People whose land was, a lot of the people's land was taken. People who still know where their land is that they no longer have. So there's no perceived anything.
Whether colonialism or whatever the case, somehow they justified and celebrate these atrocities. And I'm not going to stand for it because having grown up in South Africa during the dismantling of apartheid, growing up being told to be tolerant and compassionate and to accept and embrace this idea of a rainbow nation and see what a facade and what bullshit it really is. I'm not going to stand by when people celebrate the murder, the ethnic cleansing of a minority group of who I happen to be a part of. I'm not going to stand by while people unfairly and unjustly try to prevent these people who genuinely need refugee status from getting it. I'm going to support them. And so, again, I'm not a Dutchman, I'm not Afrikaans, but I support this refugee status thing. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I would be saying exactly the same for the Zulus. If they were being ethnically targeted by the Xhosas, and you had a Xhosa politician going up there and saying, we must slit the throats of the Zulus and we must kill their children and pets and shoot the Zulus, shoot to kill, or whatever the case, I'd advocate for them to get refugee status. See where I'm going here? So I just wanted to cut through the BS here. I support this. I think the whole world should support this. No small minority ethnic group should ever be targeted for ethnic cleansing. And I just wanted to say thank you to America for affording this opportunity to my South African Afrikaans brothers and sisters. And I wish them all the best of luck. People that were born in America, people who grew up in America don't understand how lucky they are. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it is the most tolerant, the least racist country in the entire world. And I can hear the screaming out there. I know all you people out there are going to get in the comments and try to tell me that I'm wrong, but you know what? Screw you, because I'm not wrong. I grew up in Africa. I lived in China. I know the developing world. I know what true racism is. I've experienced it myself. I've seen it. I've seen how bad it is. And America is not that.
All right, Sapensa. Yeah, no, I agree with him that America is a great nation. I mean, it is a multi-racial nation, so there's going to be some racism. In it's just a human failing. But I think Canada is less racist than America. Just Canada's history. Canada does have a history of indentured servitude, some slavery, and all that. But it's minor compared to what happened in the States. And there is racism in Canada as well, because it's a multi-racial country. You go to a country that's not as multiracial, I don't know, South Korea. Are there any black people in parliament in South Korea? White people? In India, any black people in the parliament and politics? So when you have a multiracial country, you're gonna get some racism. You get a multi-tribal country, it's gonna be tribalism. You got, it's a human failing. It's sad, but anyway, guys. All I wanted to do with this video is talk to you about, kind of give a little bit of nuance to what's going on in South Africa. Donald Trump and Elon Musk spreading, lies. The government has not only is it not confiscating land, it never has confiscated any land. 7% of the population, the white people, own 70% of the farmland. Okay. The people more likely to be victims of crime are black people in South Africa. The farm murders have happened in South Africa. Sapensa is correct. And the stories are horrific, just horrific. There are criminal elements. Crime is high in South Africa. Criminal elements in South Africa happening. And targeting all people, including whites, because they're white. So that is happening. But let's not, please, it is not the South African government doing this. Again, he talks about politicians, talking about killing Afrikaners, wanting the blood of Afrikaners. Yes, happening by the EFF, not all politicians, not the majority of politicians, not all black politicians. There's this group that are spouting this. Again, not good, because they do have a big following. So anyway, there's I think he should have been a little bit more honest in his presentation. Let me know what you guys think about what I've just said. I don't know if Sapensa will see this, but maybe I'll tag him and see if he does. And I'd really like to hear his viewpoints on it as well. All right, please guys, like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.